Good afternoon and welcome to Salesforce and Lava Protocols webinar, Reimagine the Student Experience. My name is Christina and I will be your moderator / host for today. For this session, we will be covering how education institutions can streamline their recruitment and enrollment processes, not only from a student's perspective, but also how education institutions can elevate their internal processes to help their recruitment and admissions team, as well as their sales and marketing team. We want this session to be incredibly interactive, so I highly encourage our audience to participate throughout the session by submitting their questions and answering our polls. As you can see on your screens, you can scan this QR code or go to this URL to submit your questions. We have interesting prizes that you can win by participating throughout the event. So again, I highly encourage our audience to scan the QR code now or go to that URL, slide.do. Our event ID is 804181 to get a chance to win some Salesforce items. We will be announcing 2 lucky winners after the webinar has concluded. So joining us for today are speakers from different organizations who will be able to give us different perspectives for the topics that we will be covering. We have Kevin Chan, he's the sales director of Lava Protocols. We also have Inaya, she's the customer engagement director from Lava Protocols. And joining us today as well is Chris Ananda, account director from Salesforce. And of course, we also have Chooi vice president of Digital Tech and Content from Taylor's Education Group. Thank you all for joining us today. To officially start this event, Chris will be giving us some insights on how Salesforce has been transforming the education industry in the past years. Chris?
Thanks, Dina. So first of all, I think I want to say thank you for your participation today. And it's actually good to see every one of you here today. So as your partner in education, we are actually focused on combining the power of student-centric technology with the workforce development and community resources needed to maximize every student's potential. So for us, it's about so much more than just providing some kind of technology to our higher education customers. That's why we are focused on bringing our higher education community together, and especially the students' experience community throughout the year to provide product feedback, share best practices, and inspire other institutions in embarking on their Salesforce journey. So Salesforce has been in the market since 1999 and offers a full array of support resources to fit your needs and guide you every step of the way. With our free online learning platform called the Trailhead, students can also learn in-demand skills to launch a career in the Salesforce ecosystem, get expert career advice, and also network with mentors and also employers. This drives learner and institution success from anywhere with one connected platform for a lifelong experience learning. With solutions for recruitment and admission, students' experience, advancement and institution operations, we provide the digital foundation to capture 360-degree views across the entire education journey, transforming the learner engagement into lifelong relationship. So we are actually committed to driving success together with our customers. Back to you, Tina.
Thank you for that, Chris. A good introduction to Salesforce and what you have been doing in the past 2 years to reimagine not just the student experience, but the whole education industry experience. Kevin will also be giving us an introduction about Lava Protocols. Over to you, Kevin.
Thanks, Tina. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to just speak a bit about Salesforce and how it can actually benefit your organization. So just a quick introduction on Lava Protocols itself. We have been established in late 2006, December 2006. So this is actually our 15th year in business. So Lava Protocols in itself was set up with Salesforce.com product as the core focus for Lava Protocols itself. That means we wanted to grow with Salesforce. And from a solution perspective, way back then for a cloud solution, obviously it was unheard of. Everything was on-premise server-based solution last time. So we had to spend a lot of time conversing with people to sell that idea with regards to cloud solution. But obviously, fast forward 15 years now, and it's actually a norm in terms of an industry practice as well as standard itself. These days, you don't even hear on-premise even being an option to be considered at this point in time. So it's been a very, very great journey. So actually says a lot with regards to our conviction and perseverance with regards to the idea of Salesforce.com, the CRM solution, which is now like a platform as a solution, which basically made us who we are today, and with our loyal customers still embarking on this journey with us as well. So as you see with the slide deck here, basically with that in mind, our expertise as well as resources actually revolves around maximizing our potential and capability around the Salesforce solution. So we consciously set up our team with locality being a province. That means from pre-sales to the project team, which has our PA, PM, QA, deployment engineers, developers, to our post-sales support and success team. And all of them are actually based off our office in Kelana Jaya. So we did this consciously because we wanted to have more controls with regards to how we actually manage our projects, our pre-sales, our support itself. That means from a cost perspective and timeline perspective, something that we can control, and that actually gives us a bit more flexibility with regards to our project implementation as well. So, and one last thing I just wanted to mention is another point of validation with regards to our direction that Lava Protocols has actually taken is that with establishing the homegrown and local resources, we now are a fully certified, we have fully certified deployment team, and with a recognition from our principal Salesforce with the award for APAC Partner of the Year 2021 as well. So I think it actually speaks a lot with regards to Lava Protocols, where we started and where we headed, and basically we believe that it's actually the right way forward as well. Right, that's it. Thanks, Tina, back to you.
Thanks for that, Kevin. Wow, 15 years in the industry. That's a thing to celebrate. I'm sure that everyone can relate and will agree that it's been a challenging past couple of years. The education industry had to transform during those 2 years to be able to adapt. But now that we're moving forward, I know that there's still a lot of uncertainty among the students and the parents. Perhaps Ewan can give his insights on this. With the post-pandemic anxiety that the students and the parents are experiencing, how can higher education institutions assist students to complete their application process? And at the same time, how can institutions, or how does institutions like Taylor's provide the students the assurance during the enrollment process?
Thanks, Tina. I'll try to answer it as I can. Really, to me and to Taylor's, I think the answer to that is you're really focusing on the entire customer journey for a student going through the process. The user experience is extremely important when it comes to complex application process like this. And so what we normally focus on is not just in terms of what kind of documentations you need to submit, but really in terms of how is students feeling, how can we reduce anxiety for students, what part of the what the student need is part of the journey, right? And that forces us to really look at that as a very omni-channel type process, right? It's not enough that we just tick the boxes and go, okay, so the student needs this with the application, great, send documents in, great. It's like we do ask questions to students like, okay, is there things you need to understand? Are there experiences you'd like to figure out first before as you complete the application? And that's where your interactions with student ambassadors, for example, you'll bring in our academy lecturers to converse with them, with the students. These are important as part of the journey as well. So to summarize that, it's all about the customer experience, it's all about the user journey, it's also about being as omni-channel as possible. That helps with the complex process.
Great, thanks for that, Ewan. Perhaps Aisha would also have some insight on this, maybe like from a solution perspective. How can Salesforce and Lava Protocols assist higher education institutions on these issues?
Thank you, Tina, for that question. Just before I listen to your question, just want to add on to what Ewan was saying earlier as well. your question about students' anxiety and how they go through the full process. I believe when a student is actually looking for a program, they're not just looking for a program, but they are looking for a foundation for their future when they finish their schools. And maybe that is the very first time they are looking at actually moving out of their parents' home and actually living somewhere else. So there's a lot of consideration into that decision that they are making, which program they want to go for, and which university they are going to join, or which college they're going to go for. So all these actually come into it requires a lot of thinking process. At the same time, they're actually going through multitudes of websites, applying for programs, and trying to get feedback from those individuals. And very well highlighted by even that omnichannel, and people actually people may go to their websites and submit a question, and then at the same time they may actually WhatsApp another contact, or they may even send an email out. So it's very hard for them to keep track of the information that they're receiving from these different institutions. So I think it's very, very crucial for every institution to manage them and guide them well. So there are a few things that I'd like to highlight from a solution point of view. At every stage of the application, the student needs to be guided. So what I think is they need to be, there are a few things to look at that guide prospective students through the application process with proactive personalized support. Meaning, the students doesn't need to contact you if you know that, every student has a problem in certain areas, then you need to be proactive about it and then reach out to them and make sure that is actually managed through the system. Streamline the application review process for staff and applicants. Connect your backend systems for a 360-degree view of your data. Provide a better visibility into students' challenges throughout the enrollment, and not only enrollment, and also for onboarding phases as well. So by doing this, every institution can set them apart from the rest, because that's the uniqueness that you bring to your enrollment process, and that's how you set yourself apart. Hope I have addressed the question from a solution point of view as well.
Great, thanks, Aishath. Chris, do you have anything to add on that?
Yes, Tina. So I think for this, I will probably lead back to like many years ago when during my teenage years, right, when I was supposed to make a decision on which college or university or what course to enroll in. So I remember clearly that there was many information, there was many documents to submit. So it was actually very difficult for me to actually process, even with the help of my parents. So even to check the status of the application, right, sometimes it takes time. So take for example, when me or my parents actually gave them a call last time, right? So we are actually being passed from department to department, and in the end of the day, we still don't get an answer that we need, that kind of thing. So when I start learning about Salesforce Education Cloud, right, it makes me hope that we had this technology many years ago. So in terms of like easy submission, status of application, sometimes in real time, and even scheduling an appointment with an advisor, it all can be done seamlessly over here. So this would have made things more simpler for students and parents, and even institution itself in the technology era now. So in short, I believe like what Ewan was saying, right? Students are expecting a more connected experience once they reach out to an institution, so that they won't be actually lost. So because when they actually want to actually embark on a program, they are probably quite kind of lost when they are 17 or 18 years old. So it is best to have this connected experience to actually minimize the effect to them. Thanks, Tina.
Thanks, Chris. I absolutely agree with you. Time has truly changed, and the student experience has immensely improved in the past years, but it can still get better. Now that we've talked about students' anxiety, I'm sure that our educators, our administrators, and admission counselors are receiving high volume of work as well. So how could we reduce the stress of our admissions counselors and our staff, as well as their workload, while still providing the transparency to the students or the applicants? Perhaps Ewan has his take on this.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm sure everyone's gone through this before, but there are times when there's so many enrollments coming in, especially in the peak periods. Like you can imagine, there's not enough time to process all the documents. There's stacks of forms coming in, and that's in the past, the long past, right? And you can imagine the kind of stress that counselors go to try to process all that over some time. Not only that, it's not just here's the application form, let's just process it and move on. There are definitely going to be errors. There are questions that the students will be asking. Not to mention, I'm sure a lot of education colleagues would say the same, but the question about, oh, am I applicable for a scholarship? Do I get a bursary? These are constant barrage of questions that come in. So, I mean, the easy way to really answer this is, system technology really solves this problem, right? You need to have the right systems, you need the right processes in place that support the systems to be able to capture all these things coming in, process these things in a timely manner, and be able to get the right answers to the right questions to these students. In Taylor's case, I think as an example, we talk about transparency to the student's application. Taylor's has we launched our Taylor's online application system, where students can redo their profile, they can save the progress, they can check the documents, our counselors can jump in to assist at any time by live chat or through a direct conversation. So these are the kind of technologies, kind of systems that we should be adapting as education institutes to really help with the application process.
Right. It's all about having the right solution and the right system to assist our administrators, our student counselors, and our staff. Aisha, what do you think about that?
Over the years that I've spent in actually this vertical, actually seeing different institutions, they do have different needs. For example, if you look at a medical university, they get multitudes of application every single cycle, and they have to basically go through a system to measure which student they want to actually give placements for. And there are also institutions who actually receive a smaller amount of applications, but it still needs to be organized internally. So based on all this, basically we are looking at an internal employee trying to manage, the applications that are coming in, whether it's digitally or in paper. They're actually trying to process those and get the information reached to students as fast as possible. So to do this, it's quite hard on paper. I'm pretty sure most of the universities must have moved out from paper, and they must be, at least in some form, they are digitally transformed to digital forms. But we can do one step more actually by introducing portals or ways for the students to actually update information and the internal staffs to be able to actually review those information. So if with those kind of information, it's very easy for both parties to get updates. For example, if there's a mistake on the student part, the counselor can always reach out to them and ask them to make changes. In the case of student needing some information, they can actually put a message in, and the counselor can come and actually update. So it doesn't really require different platforms. They can do it in one place, and they don't have to move platforms. So the screen just now actually showed are the stages that an institution may go through. But definitely those stages can be actually customized and managed. Those stages can be managed as well. So that's just what I think about it. Thanks, Tina.
Thanks, Aisha. Let me just remind our audience that you can submit your questions and answer our polls through Slido. I was just looking at some of the responses on our first question in Slido, and it reflects what we're just talking about. Now, one of the features that were highlighted is lead scoring. Perhaps Kevin can take on this question. In Salesforce, can you create a score for your prospective students that will show how active they have been in the application process and how high their interest level in a particular course is?
Thank you for your question. So just a quick one on scoring. So basically, Salesforce actually has a very nifty way of calculating scoring automatically. It's actually based on their AI called Einstein, but I think this one, let me pass it to Chris to speak about shortly. But just a quick explanation on the manual scoring method. So this one I can definitely say something about it. So the easiest way to explain something like a manual scoring, it's something like having weightages for a scoring of, let's just say, 1 to 3 points for each field captured or not captured or partially captured. And after that, what you do is that you have a cumulative score out of, let's just say, 10 points, 20 points to calculate what is going to be a hot lead, a warm lead, or a cold lead, depending on what is the weightages of the different points that you assign to the fields that you're capturing. So what you can do is that you can basically take out the uncertainty and leave it to a science-based formula based on your experience or each and everyone's experience with regards to what do you think is going to be a student that you want to spend a bit more time with from a hot lead perspective, or something that it's going to spend a bit, you need more time to qualify the students because of impartial data entry. So that one will take time, but what you want is you want to focus on the immediate needs from a student perspective. So that it's one way to basically leverage the manual scoring method. But let Chris share a bit on the Einstein perspective. It's quite cool.
Right, thanks, Kevin. So I think like what Kevin mentioned, Salesforce has this thing called the Einstein lead scoring, like what we actually shown over here, right? So it actually uses some kind of data science and also machine learning to discover your business patterns of lead conversion. So based on your patterns, Einstein predicts which of your current leads to prioritize. So by using machine learning, Einstein lead scoring provides a simpler, faster approach and more accurate solution than your normal traditional rule-based lead scoring approaches. So I think one of the key thing is what it does is it analyzes your past leads to determine which current leads have the most in common with your leads that you have previously converted to a sale or something like that. So when you actually score all your leads together, right, without creating any segment, and you don't have enough lead conversion data to build your own predictive model. So Einstein actually uses a global model. So this global model actually uses data from many of our Salesforce customers. So when you accumulate enough lead data, Einstein will build a scoring model with your data and uses the model with the better results. So I think this is a summary of what the Salesforce Einstein lead scoring can do for us. So back to you, Tina.
Einstein lead scoring, that's definitely a great feature, and because it removes that manual process from our student counselors. It removes a lot of tasks that they need to do manually, so they can focus on nurturing and converting these leads. Now, most, especially these days, because our educational institutions, they're not only attracting local students, but they're also attracting students internationally. And one of the problem is that now that they need to have a result of a centralized marketing where their global team of admissions, their branches of recruitment and marketing and sales that are scattered regionally and internationally, and of course, international and local agents, they have to coordinate with one another. So with different departments scattered geographically, how can the universities ensure that admission counselors address inquiries from prospective students effectively? Perhaps Aisha has her take on this.
Sure, Tina. Thanks for the question. I think very well highlighted that the Malaysian institutions especially they're not just looking at local students, they're looking at regional students, they're looking at overseas students. And when it comes to overseas students or students coming from regional areas, definitely they need a different way of actually managing them. If you're looking at overseas, some of them may not be very fluent in certain languages, so we definitely need people who are in those local areas available in those overseas to manage these students. So definitely agents are very, very key in that environment. So what do we do for these agents? So if they don't have a system, then definitely they will be actually putting this information on paper and sending over the email, or different ways of managing. So if you actually would like to centralize this information and make sure that you don't have duplicates of same students applying for same courses through different ways, you might as well just centralize this and provide them an access to a platform. So what it does is it actually centralizes information. It allows the agents to key in the information once or get the students to key in the information. And then, that information flows to the internal processes. And, when they do the reviews and everything, nobody has to do double keying. So it actually saves a lot of time for the internal team as well. At the same time, a channel manager can actually look after certain regions and certain number of agents and manage those agents as well. So while I'm actually talking about agents and, thinking that agents are actually willingly going to come in and actually key in the information, I do understand the challenges in the market because every single agent will have multiple institutions that they are working with. So definitely they are not going to pass on student information that easily to a system for them to actually work on. So those are the challenges that the current industry actually faces. But there are ways to actually attract them or entice them to actually manage those. One way is, making sure that they are actually either participating in contests that are actually visible through dashboards like the one that we're actually looking at. Either giving them a target and when they reach those tiers, make sure their commissions are raised or percentage of commissions are raised or something along that line. And be able to actually do their closures and everything within the system. Even for their commissions, or even if they are actually putting an invoice through, you can actually extend Salesforce to make sure that, the invoicing is actually requested through the system so that they don't have to go anywhere. So it becomes their daily routine to log in and, to manage the system, to put things in the system. So it becomes a habit to key in the information rather than taking any other part. So it gives the agent visibility to all the student applications that he's going through. It gives the visibility for him to, his returns on those as well. So it makes it very helpful for agents to actually use the system. At the same time, it's fully, it's all advantageous for the institutions because, somebody is keying the data for you and, these processes are happening automatically. So but that's actually quite interesting for Salesforce because there are many CRMs available, but for any education scenarios, I've not seen it that can be flexibly actually configured because Salesforce is so flexible that you can just extend a bit of one or two modules and then you can actually manage a lot more other processes. So there's no other CRM comparable to this in the market which can do these kind of things. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to highlight on that.
Thanks, Aisha. And I know Taylor's is one of those universities who have different recruitment branches and who may also be engaging with like Asians internationally or locally. Yuan, what's your take on this?
I completely agree, Aisha. If you look at I'm trying to be very forward-looking. So to me, having a portal like this, something that allows this seamless transfer of information and interactions between the university and agents is definitely necessary. I do see challenges. I think we even experience it ourselves trying to onboard agents onto new systems. There is always going to be this lack of trust, especially when it comes to dealing with international agents, where there's kind of like this distrust in terms of is the university going to pay me? How do you handle student disputes in terms of I being a student but you claim it's yours, things like that. So I think many agents have been done before. So have universities. I think the biggest challenge to this, not the system, is going to be culture. It's about creating a culture of trust, proving that first, and then bringing agents on board. But I definitely agree. I think a solution like this is necessary. I think a solution is definitely help enabling agents to come on board. And so that's the work that universities need to do with their partners.
Right. It's also about creating transparency between two sides, between the agents and the recruiters, and also with the university themselves. Now we just run our poll. Our first top feature is actually lead scoring, the one that Kevin and Chris mentioned a while ago. Our second one is omni-channel lead capture. I know this is very interesting to our audiences because our younger generations, they're all over social media now. They are very present on different digital channels. But with the increasing competition and increasing popularity of digital channels such as mobile, web, email, and advertisements that they see online, my first question is, how can recruiters attract the attention of the right students? And second, how do they capture this information coming from different sources? What do you think about that, Yuan?
Okay, I'll try to answer the first one first. It's really in two parts. I mean, in order to attract the right audience, you definitely need to be saying the right message and creating awareness around, creating that awareness around the brand first. Without visibility, without the kind of brand awareness among students, especially internationally, it's going to be very difficult to recruit students, right? So that's why things like awards, rankings, and things like that come to play. But that's actually to me an easy part of the ability to recruit students, right? So excuse me. I think the second part that is, to me, more important is really in terms of selling that more authentic look at the brand. And that's where things like social media, content, and things like can play. So, for example, for us, Instagram is a very it's a very precious channel for us because we use that as an opportunity to show the real side of tailors to our students, to our prospective students. We talk a lot about the student journeys. We try and show as much as in real life on campus that we can. And I think that's going to be a really important part of attracting the right students in. Because at the end of the day, we just need to make sure that the students enjoy or appreciate the experience that they're going to get at any education institution. And so we really want to show what life's going to be like, make the right choices if tailors is relevant for you, or any institute I think is relevant for you. We want them to understand that, and this is where that second part of creating the genuine, authentic voice of the brand is really, really important. In terms of capturing that information, yes, totally agree. That's always going to be a challenge, especially recruiting both internationally and locally. Again, systems help a lot, right? Having the right systems and be able to capture it from a marketing perspective, having the right processes to capture that is super important. So, for example, when we run digital ads, as well as traditional, as well as on-ground events, having the right process to make sure that the leads are captured and categorized correctly in the system is extremely vital, because the moment you mess it up, your entire lead assignment categorization goes haywire. So that kind of discipline and process is up there. Having the right system is important. So in Salesforce, we are a user of Salesforce. Suppose that's why we had this webinar, right? That has been really useful in terms of helping us do that. And once we have that, capturing from different channels, from online and offline, making sure it goes to the right person, being able to capture the activities that we do in terms of how we're communicating, what kind of communication is going on, what preferences the student has. These are all super important information for us, for us to be able to deliver that kind of personalized experience, as well as deliver a great experience in terms of the enrollment process.
Thank you, Ewan. How about you, Chris? Anything to add, maybe from a Salesforce perspective? How can institutions capture this information coming from different sources?
So I think other than technology, right, Salesforce is probably focused on like 3 key areas which will greatly impact this higher education. So I think the first one is the increased personalization, right? Because you're not just talking about one channel, just talking about across all channels, but through the dynamic content and interactive email that will remove click-throughs perhaps. So this is actually an important part of the engagement, because a lot of engagement are now increasingly going digital already. So the second part of it is probably the market intelligence and optimization. So with platforms like Datorama, the Marcom teams can actually build a central infrastructure to actually drive efficiency and optimize effort when the budgets are tight. And then the final one is actually improving segmentation. So with the customer 360 audience, the Marcom team can actually benefit from deeper self-service segmentation and a fully reconciled profile across all the institution, so that you can actually personalize without constraint by accessing the most complete set of data possible.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks, Ewan. It's really important that you just not capture a lot of leads. It's really important that you capture the right student that fits your university. Now, let's move on to the questions that were submitted by our audiences. I think this first question, Kevin can take on this one. Now, institutions have different offerings in terms of courses and programs that student can apply. I remember Chris mentioning on the beginning of the webinar, when he was still younger, he was feeling a bit overwhelmed on the number of courses and the number of programs that he can take. Now, Kevin, how can we ensure that a prospective student is assigned to the appropriate admission counselor?
I think for one, you definitely need to map the skill sets of the counselors internally within the organization itself. That means what we can do from a Salesforce perspective is obviously based on, let's just say, the different various counselors that you have. Then, of course, what is their expertise with regards to the courses that they know best. That means they know what is the minimum requirements needed for a course itself. They know what is the potential of a graduate of a certain course as well. So they need to be able to verbalize this very, very well. So from that perspective, what Lava Protocols can do on Salesforce is basically do a mapping with regards to, let's just say, a table mapping of resources. And what can happen is that with the various leads that actually comes in within various sources, and what is their specific intention with regards to a course that they want to major in. And then after that, what Salesforce can do is that they can do automatic assignments based on, let's just say, the counselors and resources that you have, based on the expertise and skill sets that they have, and based on the leads that actually comes in, how it can actually automatically map to the best right fit, so that, you know, from a potential student perspective, they get the right or the best answers from your organization itself. Then obviously, within these days itself, it is about bringing you the right and most accurate answers in the shortest span of time possible, because what technology actually does is that it makes everyone a bit less patient, and obviously they want answers immediately as well. So what Salesforce can do with regards to assignment is that we can basically map the assignments based on the resources that you have, and then to the right candidates based on what is their preference for a major that they want to study in. So I think that would actually work for assignment.
Great, thanks for that, Kevin. And another question that we received, this question is for Chris. What can Salesforce do beyond a CRM, and how can they take it further?
Thanks, Tina, for the question. So I think I prepared a slide for this. It's like a summary on what Salesforce can do. Tina, do you mind just fleshing that out?
Sure. Okay, it's up now.
Yeah, this is the one, correct. So what I love about Salesforce Customer 360, right? It actually fuels all the great work that we've been doing in education. So in fact, the education cloud is actually built on top of the Salesforce Customer 360. So when we first started in 1999, right? We were talking about the sales CRM, that kind of thing. As we move on, we noticed that, okay, now in terms of education, there is a need in terms of education cloud. So that's where the education cloud is actually built on top of the Salesforce Customer 360. So as mentioned in my introduction slide earlier, I think about half an hour earlier, right? You can drive learner and institution success with one connected platform for lifelong learning. So you see from here, left and right. So on the left-hand side is where the learner section, where you get student experience, recruitment, admission comes into play. And then on the right-hand side itself, it's actually the institution success, where you have like institution operations, you have alumni engagement. So this education cloud creates a single source of truth with a 360-degree view across the entire education journey. So with the education data and architecture, it's actually a foundation that is connected journey, transforming the world's #1 CRM into the world's #1 CRM for education itself. The Salesforce platform can provide the digital foundation for a connected experience starting in kindergarten all the way into higher education, and ultimately with alumni engagement and also fundraising if needed. So this is the kind of personalization and one-on-one marketing efforts throughout the student journey that can actually transform learner engagement into lifelong relationship. So I actually hope this is clear, and always willing to jump onto another separate call in future to go into deeper engagement based on your needs.
Thanks, Chris. And it's great that you came in prepared with this slide. I know that we were only able to cover the admission and recruitment part, but I know some of our audiences will have other pain points and challenges that they are facing. So if you would like to know more about those features that were included on the slide that Chris showed, you can let us know through email or through phone call. We will be flashing our contact details later on, and we can always take that conversation outside this webinar. Now, moving on to another question from one of our audience members. This question is for Ewan. May I know which solution is Taylor's University using for student application and marketing campaign? Are they using Salesforce.org Education Cloud and Marketing Cloud?
Yeah, happy to answer that. I don't mind sharing this. I think in terms of the solution we're using for certain applications, we are on Salesforce CRM right now, and that's pretty much the solution we're expanding on. We are what I can share is really in terms of where we are looking to which could help my education colleagues out. And a lot of conversations that I had with Lava, on Salesforce in particular has really been about the predictive analytics and big data space. I think knowing customers is going to be extremely important to innovation. As mentioned many times before, personalization is very, very big for us. And being able to be able to capture personalized information of the customer and therefore be able to deliver personalized experiences, that's going to be key. And so things like predictive analytics, things like being able to understand more about the customer before we meet them for an appointment the first time, that's going to be crucial. And so that's the areas in Salesforce, in Marketing Cloud, and with Salesforce Sales Cloud stack right now we're looking at.
Thank you so much, Yuan, for sharing from Taylor's experience and from what solutions you are currently using. We actually don't have much time left. If our audience still has a few questions, or if they, after this webinar, they think of a question that they would want to ask, rest assured that you can reach out to us, or one of our representatives will be getting in touch with you to give you more information. So, as mentioned, we will be picking 2 lucky winners. We will get in touch with you after this session to get your contact details and your mailing address to make sure that when you scan the QR code earlier, just provide us contact details on how we can reach you so we can send you the Salesforce items that we will be giving away. Again, thank you to our speakers for today. It was a pleasure having all of you here. It was great hearing your thoughts and insights from different perspectives, from solution providers, from Salesforce, and from an educational institution such as Taylor's. And thank you to everyone who joined us this afternoon. If you missed some of the parts that we covered, we will be sending you our recording of this session. Thank you and have a great day, everyone.
Thanks. Just a short one.
Okay, sure, Kevin.
Obviously, coming from sales, I obviously need to end off with this note as well. So, anyone interested to start off with Salesforce, and I can see a lot of familiar names on the list as well, so you know who you are. Do reach out to me or reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to go through our recommendations for a quick start on Salesforce as well. If you're not on Salesforce, we can do a quick start. And if you're on Salesforce and if it's something that you're interested to look at or explore further, so do reach out to us again. Thank you. That's from me.
Thanks, Kevin. He's
Thank
right.
you.
Please reach out to us. If you have any questions, we can always take the conversation forward after this webinar. Again, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to our audience and to our speakers. You have a great day, everyone.